This is Christian Toto from the Hollywood and Toto podcast, and you're listening to the All Over the Place podcast, where the funsanity never ends.
Welcome back to All Over the Place. Hello, hello, hello. Eric Pervoznik coming at you, and we're back to a pared down cast tonight with the co-host. But always awesome to have Jim Culver with us. Jim, how are you this evening?
I am excellent. How about yourself?
Always fantastic when we're doing the show. Always. And
right.
Christine in the house, the same house as I.
Yes, I am. Just downstairs from you.
And as I mentioned, we are pared down tonight. Marty is going to be doing his George Jefferson, an unappearance, disappearance, lack of appearance tonight. And he's with family this evening, and I hope everything's going well out there with the Zamora household. And tonight we are back with the Threefer, and this one is this has to be the most difficult one for me to have researched. And the topic tonight is our top three movie or TV villains who were right. And our plus one is a movie or TV hero who really could be considered a villain or not so heroic. Jim, you were the one who came up with this awesome yet difficult to research topic. We start with you.
Okay. For my first pick, I'm going to go with Ed Rooney from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That is my pick. I'm a huge John Hughes fan. Love the movie, but Ferris Bueller is not my favorite movie protagonist ever. He's kind of a spoiled jerk. And, just in terms of the plot, he's literally skipping school and breaking the rules. Again. And Ed Rooney is the principal, and it is his job to catch kids in the act of doing this, to discipline them. It's literally his job. So of course he goes too far. That's probably a recurring theme on my list, but he's basically in the right in everything he's trying to do. And he's essentially the good guy of the story. He's just treated like the bad guy for trying to do his job. Maybe a little overzealously, I'll admit, but I don't really see a reason to hate him. And I don't really see a reason why he needed to be humiliated at the end of the movie. And he really wasn't doing a whole lot wrong in that movie, aside from breaking and entering a little bit. But that's, really not worse than anything Ferris Bueller did. So I'd say on the balance, he was all right. He was in my cool book.
I think this is one that came up for a lot of us as we were flipping through things, and just paring it down. No argument for me, and no Marty here to stir the pot. So I think we have this is Ed Rooney, and heck, if nothing else, we got a '90s band who used Rooney as the name of their band. Or was that early 2000s? I get lost with all that. A lot of the '90s music. 90s into 2000, but Rooney was one of them. Okay, a little inspiration. And of course, Save Ferris as well.
Indeed, which I saw them perform live a couple times. Good band.
Hey, indeed. All right, well, moving up to Christine now for your 1, 2, or 3, or as Marty would say, your bronze, silver, or gold.
Okay, well, I am going to go, and especially because it is the Christmas season right now, I'm going with the Grinch. Those Who's from Whoville, they were too into the Christmas shopping. They were too into the stuff that Christmas was not about. And the Grinch, just wanted to be left alone on his hill and, have a dog.
Yeah. And his heart eventually did grow big.
He did, yeah. I guess you could say he got redemption at the end of the movie, but he kind of had a point.
Are we talking Jim Carrey Grinch or animated Grinch? Which version are we talking here?
Either one, really.
Okay.
Do you have opinions about either?
Well, I feel like the Jim Carrey Grinch was kind of a jerk face, but the animated one I kind of get, but I don't know. So it depends. The book kind of tells us that he wasn't a very good person, that he needed to change. So the story is kind of his catalyst for changing. But I agree, they didn't really need to sing loud music to taunt him and up in his mountain and just kind of leave him alone. But
even if you want to talk about a little bit of the backstory with the Jim Carrey Grinch, you know, he was bullied,
right.
and he just ran away up to the mountain to live by himself. He wanted to be part of the community, and he wanted to be there, and he even had a love interest, you know, and he wasn't accepted, so he just went away, you know. That's kind of sad.
Well, can a villain really be a villain just because it was someone else's antagonism? Or I can't.
Everybody in the community saw him as a villain, so for all intents and purposes, in the course of the, you know, the play or the, you know, the movie, he was intended to be a villain.
I've only seen the animated one, so I will not judge one way or the other. I just think that a villain is just a villain for the, you know, just for the sake of being evil or being antagonistic, not as a revenge for being picked upon. But it's 21st century. Those are themes that resonate in the 21st century. Not going to deny it.
Yep.
And this is why this one was so hard to come up with, folks, because whether it's moral ambiguity or, you know, ends justifying the means, things of that nature. It's a lot of gray area with this topic tonight. A lot of gray.
Yep.
And on that note, I'm going to kick mine off with Colonel Jessup from A Few Good Men. I will preface this by saying the Code Red was wrong. But his speech, or part of the speech to from the stands, like, who's going to look out for this country? You, Lieutenant Caffey? You, Lieutenant Weinberg? And I never liked the dripping anti-Semitic way he threw that Lieutenant Weinberg out there. I was always a little underlying there. But Jessup was just someone who was standing on his watch. And the way that he went about getting rid of like I said, the Code Red, so getting rid of Santiago, not right. But those guys, Marines, are when it's stationed how many yards away from people who are trained to kill them. They need the best out there. And we needed him on that wall. May not have wanted him on that wall, but we needed him on that wall. So I'm going to go with Colonel Jessup for my first one.
Yeah, that movie is an interesting kind of look at the post-Cold War military, you know, where the nation is kind of softening up after the Cold War, but there's still threats out there with the military needed to be strong for. And I think Colonel Jessup was kind of supposed to represent that aspect of it, kind of more of an old school soldier that recognized there's still threats and we still have to be tough to deal with them. I kind of go back and forth on that character because yeah, a lot of what he says I agree with, especially that I wouldn't necessarily trust Kevin Pollak to guard our border, but
with jokes I would.
Well, yeah, he could probably laugh him to death. That's true. But you know, I kind of feel like he was written as kind of a Machiavellian character who says a lot of things that you can agree with, but then uses them to cover up things that he shouldn't be doing. You know, he was kind of corrupt. He was kind of abusive to his soldiers, which I think almost anybody almost any military commander after General Patton would agree is inappropriate. And I think he kind of used that attitude of, you know, I'm the only guy who can do this job to defy things that shouldn't have been justified. So yeah, I kind of go back and forth on that character. He's always a really interesting. I guess I'd call him more of an anti-hero than a villain. But yeah, wonderful character and a wonderful performance. So now.
And this isn't one of my honorable mentions, but just very quickly, I got to give some love to one of my favorite character actors, and really the underlying and underappreciated hero in this movie, J.T. Walsh as Lieutenant Colonel Markinson.
Yes, one of my favorite character actors ever.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Yes. Jim, circling back down to you for your second pick.
Okay. This is another 80s one. Might be a little bit controversial, but my pick is Mark from Field of Dreams, the bearded banker from Field of Dreams. And
Okay.
he's presented as kind of an antagonist, kind of a greedy banker guy who's trying to steal the farm away from the heroes while they're trying to have their magic baseball field. But and again, this is one of my favorite movies. I love this movie, but you kind of got to look at it from his perspective. So his sister goes out, gets married to a hippie. They come back and suddenly decide they're going to farm. They don't know how to farm. And then one day he just decides he's gonna plow under the only crop that brings him income and build a baseball field, and nothing happens on it. And they're losing their money. And he's trying to figure out a way to save his sister's home so she doesn't become homeless because this insane person is driving them to bankruptcy. And so he comes up with a plan to basically bail them out and by letting them stay in their home. And I'm seeing it from his, and he can't see the ghosts that are coming out on the field. Nobody can except for that family. So they're all staring at nothing and acting like there's something there. You look at it from his perspective, it feels like his family members are going insane and he's trying to save them from ending up homeless. So if you look at it from that point of view, he's not a bad guy. I think the worst thing he does in the whole movie is he, in an argument, he grabs his niece's arm at the end of the movie just to make a point, which is obviously too far. But I mean, he was being driven crazy by his family at that point. So, cut him a little bit of slack on that one. So yeah, I mean, like I say, look at it from his perspective. And as soon as he could see the ghosts, he completely did a 180 and was on their side. So he was never really that bad of a guy. He just wasn't being given the blessings that they were, shall we say, the ability to see these things. So, not in the context of it, the story, not a bad guy.
This is why Jim is our movie expert. This is a great deep cut. Never would have considered this, but damn it, man, you're right.
And he did have an epic beard.
I said, damn it, you're right. I said, damn it, as I'm impressed. That's why right. I said, damn it. Love
you don't
it.
see too many red. You don't see too many red beards in characters in the 80s. So got to give them that.
Timothy Busfield, love.
Yep.
Good actor. A long way from the Poindexter character in Revenge of the Nerds.
Indeed.
All right, Christine, up to you.
Okay, so my number 2 is the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. And this was even the subject of a YA literature series that one of my sons read. So this has actually been covered by an author. Don't ask me the author's name. The book is upstairs. But Dorothy is actually the bad person in this. I know that kind of might be getting to the other topic that we're going to be talking about, but the Wicked Witch of the West, her daughter was killed by a random house that fell on her. And then she tries to come and get her shoes, which are of some kind of perceived value to her. And Glenda, the good witch, takes the shoes and gives them to Dorothy. So she ends up having to chase, and instead of Dorothy just giving the shoes back to the rightful owner, she ends up having to chase her around to get the shoes back.
Okay. And I'm wondering if a YA series will be done with Daniel Russo and the Zabs.
Right? Perhaps,
That just a one little twist, and you're not the good guy, you're the bad guy. You're not the bad guy, you're the good guy. And Wicked Witch.
Anybody that's watched Cobra Kai kind of sees that, with the fanaticism that they end up getting into with the whole rivalry. It gets kind of crazy.
But I like the call with the maybe not so wicked witch getting a bad rep. But she was kind of nasty with the monkeys, which still give me nightmares, by the way. And I know I'm not alone. Those monkeys are
they were creepy. They were creepy.
Well, and trying to kill a child over a pair of shoes does seem a little extreme. Just saying. Well, they were really nice shoes, but still.
But they killed her daughter. Or they killed her sister, rather. Sorry, they killed her sister.
wasn't
Well,
on
the house killed
purpose.
her sister, but that
Yeah,
nobody
the tornado
aimed it
did
at her.
Yeah.
And you're taking advantage of people who don't have a brain, a heart, or courage. That's the lamest of the ones, but no brain.
Congressman? Oh, wait.
Poli-sci alert, poli-sci alert. But I like it. And I'm my next pick. And actually, before I get to my next pick, I am killing the alcohol that I've been drinking the last couple of shows. And I want to give a shout out because the bottle is done. This was a birthday present for me. Thank you again, dear. This is from the Wild Hair Distillery down in Chandler, here in Arizona. Tempe. Oh, it's Tempe. It's that border. I'm still somewhat new to Arizona. I don't know, but it's here in Arizona. Wild Hair Distillery. And hey, we'd love to be drinking on the show, as we've noticed the last couple, how much more how fun they've gotten. Sure. But I'm going to be taking another sippy sip right now from some Wild Hair, and this would be from the Drove La Vanuela. I don't speak Spanish. I don't know. But this is spirits distilled from agave with natural cinnamon flavors. And folks,
that is a good one. Very tasty.
This goes well with Diet Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper Zero, it's Dr. Pepper in general. And what were you mixing with the other day? Oh, well, ginger beer always goes well with whiskeys.
The other day we mixed it with a sparkling cider.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was mixed with a sparkling cider, and it was quite yummy, if I don't say.
But that was a smooth mix.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep. It was yummy.
Not that smooth burn going down right now, but yeah. But I'm going to keep in with the Wizard of Oz. And the wizard was not a bad guy.
Oh,
he was a confused guy, just trying to puff himself up. He was just trying to protect his turf. And what wasn't as violent about it. He tried to be scary, but you pull back that curtain, he's just a regular dude trying to whatever complex he's got. I'm going to say the wizard, not the villain that when you sit back and think about things, not the villain you might think he is.
You thought he was a villain in that movie?
Well, he was
because they were going to go visit him because he was like the wizard that was going to save them from their situation.
But he was in it. Well, or so they were told. But and he was mean to them once he got there. He was not going to be cooperative.
He was just busy. I don't think that makes somebody a villain.
Again, this is why this was tough, folks. Well, you know what? We'll call that one my.
He was busy running the Emerald City. Jim, do you know where that is?
Emerald City? Yeah, about 20 miles south of me.
There we go. Right? All right, fine. Well, then we will call this my not so. We'll call this an iffy case. We'll call it a lame or lamer, an honorable or a dishonorable mention. I will switch over to Magneto from the X-Men series. Once again, the end justifying the means. Not always a great excuse, but his kind, the mutants, standing in for whatever ism you want, whether racism or sexism or homophobia, whatever, however you want to interpret it. Mutants were being attacked. He was merely defending himself, at least initially. Getting a little nastier around the turns, but at heart, he and Charles Xavier, Professor X, were a little bit closer together than you would think. By Charles, a little bit more naive. Magneto, again, ends justifying the means, not always the most effective, but yeah, I'll say Magneto.
Yeah, I've always liked the comparison of Professor Xavier to Martin Luther King and Magneto to Malcolm X. As two guys that are basically on the same side, but one of them just goes too far. Like he's habitual line stepper is what he is. And
he was a habitual line stepper.
Exactly. And I do like the X-Men movies because it always shows him being justified in some ways, but it also shows him being kind of sadistic and cruel. Mm-hmm. in almost every movie, and it's almost like he's using his righteousness as a excuse for that, to let that part of him out. But yeah, I mean, he definitely is one of the more sympathetic villains. But I would say the choices he makes really puts him on the wrong side far too often.
Not, yeah.
So I don't know if I'd say right, but definitely more leaning in the center. Put it that way.
Occasionally justifiable. I'm a professional Catholic, folks. I can rationalize dang near anything. I can't rationalize the Wizard as being a true bad guy, but I can rationalize Magneto. I mean, look what they did to his mother in the Nazi in the Jewish prison camp, in the concentration camp. Not cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and who's the guy who was the very true villain in that? Who played that character? Kevin Bacon. This is for you, Gel.
You're that, Gel. Kevin Bacon's still awesome.
Yes.
That's right.
All right. Flipping around. Number 3 for you, Jim Culver.
All right. My number 3 is Colonel Quaritch from the Avatar movies.
Oh.
Specifically the first one, but really both of them. I haven't seen the second one, but I know enough about it to kind of know what goes on. So I'm gonna just take a leap of faith with that one. But I mean, he's presented as kind of this diehard, just hardcore soldier that takes things too far. But again, you have to look at the context. What's happening on that planet they aren't just like taking the resources just because they feel like it. They're taking the resources because they're desperate, because Earth is about to end. Like the entire human race is about to be wiped out. So they're doing what they have to do to save the entire planet, save the entire human race. So in that context, everything he does is perfectly justified. And he even gives the hero talk to them about about what's needed and do things peacefully. And Jake completely screws up his mission. So he basically leaves everybody no choice but to do what they have to do by force to save everybody. So the writing has just been not impressive. And so the way he took this guy who was perfectly justified and tried to make him into this cartoon villain is, to me, just terrible storytelling. And I think they could have written him with a lot more nuance. It made the story a lot more interesting, but that's a discussion for another day. But I think in the context of the story, absolutely justified. And in the second movie, I mean, they killed him. I mean, wouldn't you want, somebody killed you and you got your body back? Wouldn't you want a little get even? I think I would. Just saying.
Yeah, folks, I had to disqualify myself from any commentary on this because I haven't seen Fern Gully. I mean, Avatar.
You mean Dances with Cats?
However you want to call it. Haven't seen it.
Now you're talking about the Blue People Avatar and not the Last Airbender, right?
Correct. I should have made that point, but yes, Avatar the.
I
would never say a bad word about. I would never say a bad word about Avatar: The Last Airbender. The movie is a different story, but never the show.
Who needs Marty for antagonism on this show?
Which my family loves. We love Airbender. Big fans, huge fans. I didn't even mind the M. Night Shyamalan version of it. Like, I thought it was decent for the time. I wish he'd finished that series. But there's a new one coming out next year, so we're very excited about that. Catch it on Netflix.
Hopefully Netflix won't screw it up.
Right? Exactly. So on to my last pick.
Yes. She's a queen of transitions, folks. Take it away.
Yes. I'm going with Thanos for my last pick because he was a sad dad, purple. He was a sad purple dad who, was just trying to do good for the universe. He was just trying to save what he could of humanity by killing half of it, which, Is he wrong? Sure, but he was right.
He thought he was right. That's dementia. That's a sign of a psycho. He thinks he's right.
Was he a little power hungry? Sure, perhaps. Did he sacrifice his daughter to make it happen? Of course. But you know, he had a point for sure. He had a point.
That one, that's too many. Now, sitting there feeling sorry for himself when you know in the second to last, the penultimate
Sure.
Avengers.
Endgame?
Endgame, yeah. Oh no, the one before Endgame. Because they killed him. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's the beginning of Endgame. The beginning of Endgame where he's just sitting there in his hut, living it, and if he was so just to me, if everything he had to do, killing half of humanity, and not just humanity, life in general, killing life in general, was his justification. You think he would have been a little bit more triumphant and being the cock of the walk a little bit more instead of just sitting around basically doing needlepoint for all intents and purposes.
But doesn't that maybe he wasn't like a psychopathic killer? He was really trying to just save half the world or save half.
I just killed everybody. All done. I'm gonna go twiddle my thumbs.
And not suffocate resources. What do you do after you kill half the universe? You go and you have a little cocktail and sit on your little beach house bungalow.
I just see a little bit too much of the population. I see too much of the population control people in him, and just the ends justifying the means. Whether it's just killing anybody. And here I go getting a little Catholic, but killing's wrong.
Yes,
I realize I mentioned Magneto earlier. I know, but Thanos took it to the nth level. But I see where you're coming from, but I'm like, he's just bad. There's no good in him. He's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put my philosophical differences aside on whether I think what he did made any sense, but we don't see long term what happens after he does his snap, so we don't know whether his plan actually worked or not. My theory is that people would just continue doing what they do, which is procreating and coming back, and in a few generations, the population would be right back where it was. But we don't see that happen, so we don't know.
Right.
I don't know whether I don't think he was justified in what he did. I get that he had a point of view and but I think everyone paid too high a price for his vision. So, and I think once again, when pushed around, he got mean and sadistic and just said, you know what, I think I'll just kill everybody at the end of Endgame. So I think underneath it all, he really just kind of hated everybody and was just having an excuse for wanting to kind of quench that bloodlust. But that's my opinion. I don't think he really. I think you can agree with his point of view, but he really wasn't really being honest with himself about what he really wanted. So.
Again, folks, this is why this topic tonight was so hard to research. That there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just how far you want to let the ends justify the means with these villains. So yeah.
Yep.
And before we switch back around to me, I want to take another sip of this wild hair bourbon. And remind everyone that you're listening to All Over the Place, the official podcast of Media Pub Live. And don't forget, and if you're liking what you hear, and you are, or you wouldn't be here, please remember to share, like, subscribe. We continue to grow, and you're part of that, and we appreciate it. And just keep sharing the word about All Over the Place. Now, Marty's not here, but I will call this my gold medal choice. And I'm going to flip it around. The college version of Jim, bringing up Principal Ed Rooney. I'm going to go with Animal House's Dean Wormer. Yes, did he go too far with certain things, overzealous with certain things, but he was just trying to maintain order at Faber College. Granted, it was a lot of fun to watch the DTX, the Deltas, take him down. But Dean Wormer just out there trying to make things safe, wanted to have a good homecoming. Didn't need to go as far as he did, but they did throw the fizzies in the pool for the swim meet. They did do a lot of acts that would be considered too profane to discuss, but just trying to do his job.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really argue that one.
Right.
He was yeah. It's like, what are you gonna do? What do you do in that position? You're supposed to just sit back and let John Belushi tear the whole thing down? I mean, come on.
And think about it, the Deltas did go on to good things because of his discipline.
That's true.
They didn't have to join the Peace Corps. But
Is that the second or the third Kevin Bacon movie that we've mentioned?
Oh my goodness. Chip Diller, Kevin Bacon.
He was also in A Few Good Men. Was he in any of the other movies that we mentioned?
X-Men?
Yeah, he was in X-Men, so that's 3.
That is 3.
Wait, what's the third? We got Animal House. Tonight, A Few Good Men. And
X-Men.
And Animal House. Yep. Kenny Warmold, not anywhere near our picks, folks.
Yep.
We
Bacon
love
rules.
you, Jazz.
Bacon rules.
I get to tag him again. He's either going to listen to us or block me. One or the other.
Right.
Kevin,
who are these people?
Kevin, if you are listening, and I'd like to think that you are, in between all the movies that you continue to do, you're an in-demand guy. You're Kevin Bacon for a flipping reason.
Mm-hmm.
We're fellow Pennsylvanians. Please do not block me, Kevin. This is all out of love. I honestly got to think that Jazz really does love you deep down, contrarian though he may be. But I'm going to drink one of Kevin Bacon now, as if I need an excuse.
You mean Joe?
I drank one of Gel already.
Oh, okay.
But
I know
yeah.
who Jazz is.
And frankly, did I say Jazz? I meant Joe.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was confused.
That's the fabulous wild hair liquor talking there, people. That's what that is. It's kicking in already. And you really want Dean Wormer, whose real name is escaping me right now. Trivia with Jim. Can we get you on that one?
Dean Wormer?
Dean Wormer. Who played Dean Wormer?
Oh, man, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
I should know this.
Yeah.
He shares a birthday with my dad, who introduced me to Animal House at the ripe age of 9 years old. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, not sorry.
His name is escaping me.
Yep. Anyway, but he did play a true nasty villain, Mr. Big, and I'm going to get you, sucker. That might be a topic for another show.
That is true.
I'm not sure if he chose the stairs or the easy way, but Animal House, I'm going to go with a villain that had his moments of being right, just overzealously so.
Yeah.
But now we're going to flip the script and we're going to go to our one movie or TV hero who wasn't all that heroic, at least in certain parts. Jim, to you.
All right. So my pick I'm going to go with is V from V for Vendetta.
Okay.
And so, I mean, he's kind of set up as an anti-hero, but he's one of those characters that spends half the movie going, "I'm no hero," and then you're obviously supposed to see him as a hero. I mean, at the end, it's basically all of the good people are basically worshiping him as a hero by the end of the movie. So, it's like he's someone who was on the right side as far as the cause goes. Obviously, he was fighting against a corrupt government and that was oppressing people and all these things. And of course, that's perfectly justified. But the things he does are beyond the pale. Some of the things he does in that movie, and he murders people, he tortures people, so they join his side like some kind of cult leader. He kills cops, he blows up buildings, landmarks. And the movie's message is basically just saying, if you don't like the government, then all of these things are justified to do against them, rather than any kind of legitimate resistance, protest. Just go out and start murdering people, blowing up buildings. It's fine as long as it's the right cause. So part of it is so part of it is just not being a big fan of that movie's messaging, but the character really is portrayed in such an ugly way, doing such ugly things, that I just really can't see him as a hero at the end of the day. Even though he was fighting for the right cause, I think that it was like from day one he was overstepping anything he should have been doing. So that's me. And can I add an honorable mention,
folks? So I got to go with Jim's on this one. So yeah, just sounds right to me.
And what's your honorable mention?
Yeah, honorable mention. I'm going to say Henry Fonda's character from 12 Angry Men.
Ooh.
All right.
And I'm going to say that because he's a juror. He's supposed to be doing what jurors do, and he basically becomes a defendant in the jury box in that movie. He completely oversteps what any juror is supposed to do in the name of trying to find justice or reasonable doubt in that movie. And the movie it's a brilliant movie, but legally it's ludicrous. So I'm just going to say that and leave it there.
All right. Honorable mention, Henry Fonda, 12 Angry Men. All right, Christine, up to you.
Okay. Well, I went with TV, and one of my favorite hero, anti-hero actually, is Dexter Morgan from Dexter.
Ooh.
Because he is, and he is just kind of born to be a serial killer. His father tries to straighten him out by giving him a code. He lives by a code, which he does not break. So he's killing people who are bad. So you kind of want to root for him, even though he's doing despicable things, just awful, horrible, brutal murders that he's doing. But he's, getting people that virtually can't be gotten by the Miami-Dade police, who apparently can't solve a crime to save themselves. So, but yeah, and he just, so he's kind of like, the bad guy that you root for, but at the end of it, he ends up getting away. And, his sister, who just kind of gets taken along for the ride and isn't super redeeming herself, but she is a cop, ends up dying. And it's just, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But
spoiler alert is supposed to come before.
Yeah.
But I may or may not fix that in post. I don't know.
Yeah, just move it around in editing. So she says that first.
The show is over 10 years. So, like, if you haven't seen it yet, like, you deserve to have the spoilers.
Exactly.
Like, seriously. Come on now.
Note to self, approximately
he's
39
just
minutes where I've got to fix this. Got it.
He's such a great actor. And, not that has anything to do with the redeeming value of what he's doing, but fight me.
No, I'm completely with you. The first few seasons, he's basically the Punisher, and everything he does, I was on board with pretty much. But then the show slowly goes downhill and slowly shifts his character around so that he has no moral compass left, and everyone around him is suffering, and he doesn't seem to have a clue what to do. And yeah, the show goes completely off the deep end by the end of it. But
right,
which maybe was the point, but like thematically. But yeah, right. I agree. He was the first few seasons are a really nice balancing act with this character doing these depraved things, but you almost root him on for it. But yeah, after that, it just kind of goes downhill, and he's really just totally unjustified in everything he does, pretty much.
Well, yeah, you're totally right, because things start falling apart on him, and he's trying to like the little Dutch boy in the wall, he's trying to save it and he's just making things way worse.
Right. Yeah, at some point he should just give himself up, because maybe then everyone would stop dying around him, and
Right.
maybe, but he's like, we're supposed to kind of be on his side and pull for him to get away, but at some point you're like, nah, just go to jail. Just
Right.
just go to jail, dude.
Yeah.
It's better. I know the show's over, but just go to jail, dude.
Right. Yeah. Did you watch the second version of it? Did you watch
No, I
it
haven't seen
again?
I haven't seen the reboot yet.
I watched a couple episodes of it. It was okay. I haven't finished it. That'll tell you something.
Any spoiler alerts with that one? We should mention before you actually spoil it. Okay.
I'm
think
not
like 8 seasons of that was enough
actually
for me.
spoil anything, but
I think about 8 seasons of that was enough for me. I didn't really feel like I needed to see more of it.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So, how about you, Eric?
Over to me, and this was, once again, this has been the toughest show to come up with anything that definitive. And just what I will say, one thing that bugged me the most as I was doing my research and looking at other lists, I'm like, or picking my brain, but the biggest thing was like people of a certain generation there. I will not overgeneralize, but the people who were hosting these different lists, everything, the disdain they had for trust fund baby Batman, Bruce Wayne. The guy, again, ends justifying means he wanted justice in a justiceless world. And, Mr. Freeze, he was just looking to save his wife. Yeah, we all have noble ends sometimes, but do you need to throw like, trust fund baby Bruce Wayne? Yeah, a guy who's out there trying to do good. So this was tough. Jim already brought up with Ferris Bueller. That was another one that came to mind immediately. But I hate to say this one because ultimately they are libertarian kings of the crossing and not crossing the streams jungle, the Ghostbusters. And the guy who didn't have a dick, the EPA guy, yeah, trying to apply the law, whatever. But technically speaking, the Ghostbusters were, just kind of riding around, no rules. Again, ends justifying the means, but the Ghostbusters maybe could have worked more in conjunction and less chaos would have happened. But that's the best I got for this one. There's a hero. It's not so much a hero. They're the ghosts. I cast this vote very reluctantly because they are libertarian gods. And Ray should have said that, yes, they were gods. They were libertarian gods.
When somebody asks if you're a libertarian god, you say yes.
Thank you. We didn't even need trivia with Jim on that one. We just know. So that's what I got with Ghostbusters. And Jim, you're our great movie guy in this way. Your take on that.
I get your point there, and I've heard that argument made before that the EPA guy, I mean, he had a point that his job was to find out if everything they were doing was safe. And yeah, Venkman was kind of a dick to him, but he made that very personal, and he came back and just turned everything off. All this technology and things he didn't understand. He just ordered it. He just threw his big government DICK around and just ordered everything shut off, and endangered.
Nearly caused
Did the
the
exact same.
apocalypse.
Yeah, he became the very thing he was trying to fight. He endangered everyone. And if it was his job to work with businesses and actually deal with these things in a sane manner, and not just, it'd be like walking into a nuclear reactor and say, oh, this stuff's unsafe and you were rude to me, let's shut it all down. You would have to do things in a professional way. So I think characters like that can come from a place where we understand where they're coming from, but when they take it too far, they go into villain territory, and I think he definitely did at that point. So, but I no, I get what you're saying about him, and yeah, maybe the Ghostbusters were a little too cavalier about throwing their weight around, but no, I think that he was definitely still the EPA guy was definitely still the bad guy in that.
Well, they did come, they did see, and they did kick some ass.
They sure did.
Indeed.
And that man did have a small, yeah.
Well, we really don't have confirmation of that.
Well, hey, I will trust Bill Murray. It's true. This man does.
Okay, can I give a little bit of trivia now?
Go. Hang on.
Some that I actually know. I saw an interview with William Atherton, the guy who played the EPA guy, and he said after that movie came out, he was walking down the street of New York, and a car went by, and somebody yelled out, "Hey, Dickless!"
Poor guy. Forever known as Dickless after that.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that name followed him around for a very long time after that. But I feel like his job was to play some of the most supreme jerks of the '80s, and because I just watched.
Clearly, he was successful.
Yeah, I just watched. What was it called? The Val Kilmer movie.
Yeah, Weird Science. Wait, no, not Weird Science.
I started to say Weird Science too.
Wilder.
I get mixed up.
Something Wilder. Van Wilder.
No,
not Van Wilder.
Real Genius.
Real Genius. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
Real Genius.
Yeah.
Right.
Trivia
I just watched it the other day, and oh yeah, I just watched that again the other day, and man, he is so good at just being this kind of smarmy, authoritarian jerk. I don't think anybody does it better than him, honestly. And just the way he walks by the construction workers, that's what you get for not having an education. Like, oh, you just want to smack him so hard. But yeah, he was so good in those roles. And it's like, maybe that's going to be his whole legacy as an actor, but I could think of worse ones that he played that stuff so well.
Well, I can think of one person who played smarmy a little bit better back in the '80s, but we'll save that for a topic for another show because I'm keeping that one in my back pocket. But trivia with Jim, as always, fun here on All Over the Place. As we wrap up our Threefer, where we talk about where we have discussed 3 movie or TV villains who maybe wouldn't have been completely wrong, had correct points, plus 1 movie or TV hero who wasn't quite as heroic as they maybe thought they were, or we thought they were. Stepping back to take a look at it. As always, thanks for listening to All Over the Place, the official podcast of Media Pub Live. Once again, I want to throw some love out to Wild Hair Distillery. Thank you. This bottle has been, these last 3 weeks have been fantastically imbibed during the course of the show, and looking forward to maybe, bring a little partnership in with Wild Hair.
You never know.
Love us, and we'll love you right back more than we already do. Jim Culver, Christine Leninger, I'm Eric Provoznik.